Let's chat. Hey, child, listen, y'all. I've been working all day. I've been working on a client all day. I had to work today, so Lissha a little behind, so we are late. We apologize for our lateness, but the ladies are here.
We're here. And it's Friday.
Yes. Welcome to Let's Chat, y'all. Yes, we are late. It's been a long week. We are late. Yes, we are. It's my fault we are late, not Toni's fault, because Toni texted me and she was trying to tell me, and I was like, no, I don't think so. And she was like, okay. I thought it was radio. So we were sitting on the radio, and then I looked at the calendar. I was like, oh, no, it's live. So now we live. But you see how fast we worked that? 30 minutes, we got it together.
Just the two of us on the radio.
Yeah, we got a great show today. We got the Knights in the building from the Fabulous Night series.
That's a great series. I can't wait to get started, Lissha. I need a day so I can have some relaxing read.
I
So this whole
know,
business
I
with the lady
know,
Celeste, we rarely get that. See, you can do it because you like to do audible books. But me, I like to read the words instead of
I
having
know.
them read to me.
Absolutely. And I want to just say something. Sometimes we have to choose how we allow people to treat us. And I'm going
Hmm.
to say everybody, not just in business, in relationships too. You have to choose how you want to allow people to treat you.
Right.
If you allow them to mistreat you, that's how they're going to continue to do it.
Hmm.
If you allow them to discount all the things that you do, they're going to continue to do it because you have not kind of stood your ground. Sometimes you have to stand your ground and make a choice.
Hmm.
Me or you. And choosing you does not mean that you're being selfish.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? But you have to choose yourself at some point in time. Because if you don't, people are only going to treat you how they want to. If they only call you when they need something, then you have to one day wake up and decide you can't call me because you need something.
Are you not taking a call?
In business, family or not, I need a contract. Ain't nothing we can do. Oh, I'm sorry, you need help?
Here's my cash app.
I can't help you. Sometimes you gotta tell people no. Even if you need something. Like I'll tell somebody no in a minute. Well, what about the no, I ain't negotiate.
Hmm.
It's not negotiable. If I say this is what it is, then that's what it is. Now you're gonna do it or you're not gonna do it.
Right.
It's funny because I was talking to Sean Sinclair last week, and he said the same thing. You tell people your terms, they either gonna roll with it or they don't.
That's
And
it.
if they don't worry about it.
On to the next one.
On to the next one. But we got a great show for you today. We got now this one right here. I met her. Was it last year? Year before last.
Miss Scott, which one? All our years are just rolling into one
Well, we
another.
went to Detroit. We went to Detroit for the
Oh no,
hustle and
that was
grind.
2 years ago. No,
Okay,
last
so
year. Child,
no, it was the
don't
year before
she'll
last.
let us know. She'll set us straight.
So we went to the hustle and grind in Detroit. And while we were there, we also went to a book event that was at a library
Hmm.
in I forgot what city it was in.
Hmm.
But this is where I met her at. And y'all, just what you get about to get, this is who she is. She's
I
super dope in real life.
know.
She is
Yes.
super dope in real life. And she is so sweet.
She is. Hey,
Hey!
How is everybody?
we
We
good,
are
girl.
good. Sorry for our lateness.
Are you?
We sorry.
I thought we were doing this for like another 45 minutes. So I was like, oh,
Oh,
I
oh
told
no,
you, I don't look right.
girl,
Child, this is what
listen.
20 minutes look like.
Wait. T, you hear she say I don't look right. Then she come on here like, hey y'all, how y'all doing? Look at all
Mhm.
fabulous. Like, I wasn't even ready. Oh, this whole thing right here. Oh, y'all, I just threw
Girl,
that on.
listen, I'm trying to tell you, I have to keep clothes close so I can, just for days like this.
All we need is the neck up, girl.
I got it. I got it.
We so appreciate you coming and kicking with us in the chat room. I want you to shout out, tell everybody a little bit about your literary journey and your work.
Okay. Oh, literary journey. Well, I started writing when I was just a kid, but that's always the story, right? Um, No, well, more recently, I have been writing since I was a child. I used to write stories in high school, real kind of provocative stories. I had friends who had to remind me that I did these things because I was not the child who, or the student, or the person who keeps papers. And so I had notebooks that had lots of stories in them, and I gave them away to the trash. Uh,
Every time now, girl.
Wait a minute, she was like, I threw them away. I wasn't really thinking about it. I just was like, yeah, okay.
I wasn't. And so, I went back to school kind of late. I was late bloomer with all that stuff. I was an early bloomer as far as being a wife and mother. So that was that. I needed to have something to do, so I started writing. And then I have friends who are authors and connected with Elle Wright, and she was like, I mean, it's nothing is what do they say? Nothing is by happenstance. Everything,
Right.
And so I went to lunch or breakfast with Elle Wright one day, and she said, "Hey, I know you said you were writing a book, and I'm going to go sit down on this Skype book discussion about the Forbidden Man." And so then the leader of the book discussion, Tanisha Pearson Jones, may she rest in peace. She's such an angel. She said, "Listen, I know who I can hook you up with to go ahead and get your book published." I said, "Oh, okay." I wasn't even thinking that about getting it published. And then she said, "Okay, I want you to get this book, Bearing It All. I'm gonna hook you up with Nelena Kai, and she's gonna get you right." And I'm like, "Wow, that I wasn't expecting all of that." And so then, right, so I had, I think I had 80,000 words of a story, and Nelena was like, "No, honey, no, please, no. No one's reading all of those words. We're editing." And so, I mean, she got in there. She said, she liked the story, and Gemini Rising was born. And so it just came from me needing to get back to my creativity.
Absolutely.
And and so from that point, you've just been chugging along ever since.
Yeah. We had her on a couple of weeks ago, and she's absolutely amazing, isn't she, Leash? Nelena Kai.
Yes, she dope, for real.
Yes.
But she's humble about it.
Yes,
she's humble about it. She helps so many. Now, when you stepped into the literary world, you had to learn the business side and you had to learn the author side. Tell us a little bit about how that process was, learning how to mash your creativity and your business sense together.
I'm still learning this.
It's an everyday thing.
I don't like to say that I'm a slow learner, but I like to say that it takes me a while to chew the bits and pieces. I'm doing much better at it, as far as doing the promo and things like that. I actually find it fascinating. I love it. Getting into the creativity. I'm an entrepreneur, and I won't say by nature, but my mom, when I was young, was setting me up with all kinds of businesses, candy stores, ice cream shops, and things like that.
Right.
And so it was kind of a natural transition from creativity into business for me. Now, if I could just put my life on a schedule, because I don't adult well. Adulting is not my favorite thing to do, and schedules are what adults do. And so
I like that word, adulting. We all struggle with it sometimes.
It is. And so at this point, I'm doing better by getting the business portion of the creativity down a lot better. So I'm having a good time with it.
What do you find most challenging, learning the business part or just the literary, just getting your words down and your creative juices flowing? Which do you find most challenging?
Definitely the business part. The business part is because it's about getting yourself out there, and because I'm, self-published, that means me promoting myself. That means me getting the marketing together. That means me letting people know I'm here. Right. That means, and though I am quite gregarious, I'm not one who promotes myself, and that I might need to see a therapist about that. I don't promote I don't promote myself. I'm a great cheerleader. So if you need someone to encourage you, I am there. I am there turning wheels. I'm pom-poms. I'm the skirt. I'm everything. For myself, it's all of that. But for myself, I'm like,
I kind of know how you feel, because like you say, I'm all about helping somebody, but I'm more behind the scenes type of this duo. Me and Lee, she'll be out there in a minute. She'll turn that camera on, say hi to the people, T.
Right.
And me, I'll just hold the camera.
I'm good about holding the camera. I am very good about holding. I'm like, girl, come on, you got this. You look great. Come on, just say your words. Now me, I get out here and I'm like,
y'all don't listen to her. Let me tell you, we went to the book event. And I did a live. She was there in all her fabulousness. Listen, she was there in all her fabulousness. She wasn't holding nothing. None of that. It wasn't none of that. It was like, oh, it's a picture. Hold on, let me get right. How's this?
You gotta get right. So I mean, I don't shy away from the opportunities, but as far as the business portion for me, it's the self promotion.
Right.
Like the everyday letting people know I'm working on a thing. The every month having my newsletter, and I become overwhelmed with ideas and having to decide which one I'm going to put on paper. You wouldn't believe how taxing that is on my mental.
Really?
Like, do I put 3 things? Do I put 5? What's the most important thing I need to let people know? You know, and it's funny. In my head, it's like it should be easier than this.
Absolutely. Now, when you're sitting down to write, what are some of the quirky things that you need in order to tap into your creativity?
I need music. I don't know that that's necessarily quirky. Whenever I sit down to write, I need to have my soundtrack playing. It's inspiration. It kind of, and the songs have to go with the story. So I will put together, when I get an idea, I'll put together the soundtrack before I even really sit down to write, because sometimes the songs tell the story to me as I write.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, and that's awesome though, because everybody doesn't do that. Like that's kind of like creating a storyboard through music.
Right. So I have a number of playlists on YouTube. You know, other people like use other platforms. Gemini Rising had nearly 100 songs on it, because I had to have songs for each of the characters. It helps me put them in their headspace as well.
That's right.
Now, do you think about like including that with your books, like letting your readers listen to what you're listening to as they read your story?
I never actually considered that, but I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah,
I might have to do that with the next one, because the one that I'm working on, the story I'm working on right now, is actually not quite a reboot, but it's an expansion of the short story that I had written and published for the Sugar Anthology, which is called Next Lifetime. And of course, the song Next Lifetime by Erykah Badu was one that was part of the soundtrack to that. So, yeah.
This is the second time Miss Erykah's name been coming up in our show within this last weekly. She's quite
awesome.
She's the second time her name's come up.
Now, have you ever written something that you didn't like? Like you've written it, and after you've done it, you like, now I don't even like that character. I should have did this, or I should have changed that, or
yeah, changed some things, enhanced some things, added some things. Never one that I didn't like. I think I'm kind of vain that way. I'm like, I like everything that I do.
Right.
I like it all.
I like it all. I'm like, oh man, I really like everything that I do.
Now, on that same vein, Miss Scott, has there been a book that your readers didn't quite necessarily feel, but you were all rah go about it? That they really didn't get what you was trying to, portray.
No, not necessarily. I think King of South Shore got a lot of mixed, still decent reviews. Like it's still like 4.5 star, but it got some 3 stars, and so they were not kind of connecting with Caleb. And I have to be honest, at that particular time when I was writing that, I was going through a lot, and when I reread it, I didn't dislike the story, but I said, "Oh, I can see what they're talking about," because I was, I was taking care of my grandma, and she had dementia. I had, going through a lot of life, situations, and I was still trying to write, which, I have to rethink that whole thing the next time, what I'm going to, as far as scheduling my life around taking care of myself, family, or whatever. But it was not quite disconnected, but it was very different than people reading Gemini Rising, they're like, "Oh my God, I love Zephyr Gray and Aisha, this and that and other." And with King of South Shore, there were some people who were like, "Yeah, I didn't quite connect with them," and I could see
Yeah.
how. And so I
As
didn't dislike the
readers,
story. I
right?
didn't dislike the story, but it was just a
Exactly.
matter of I could see what they were talking about.
Because as
Absolutely.
readers, we feel the authors, especially when we're familiar with their pen. We
Mhm.
Right.
feel like a not necessarily a disconnect, but a disconnect. Like she wasn't all there, or maybe she was. We feel it in your pen.
Right.
Well, and that's true because what it is people not even buying your book; they're buying the experience of you.
Right. Right.
So when they're experiencing you as a reader, they will scratch your soul. They're scratching your literary soul. So
Right.
that means that if you were writing a book and you like, I'm so tired of seeing chapter 3, 4, and 5. When they go to read 3, 4, and 5, they're gonna be like, what is going on? What's this?
And
Right.
3, 4, and
Because
5.
they're experiencing you. They're
Right.
experiencing your experience through writing this book. They're getting to experience that through the characters you're creating.
Right.
Right.
So if it's a sex scene, if the character hot and bothered, they hot and bothered. If the
Right.
character is upset, they upset. Depending on the type of story, if she mad at her man, now you mad at your man. Because you are into it. And
Right.
so they're buying the experience of a MarZe Scott book. They're
Right.
buying that experience, and then you interact with your readers. See, it's a difference between interacting just on your page with the people that you know, but really interacting with your readers. So
Right.
you interact with your readers, and it's an experience. So now that's creating word of mouth in itself because they're like, yes, I love this author, yada yada yada. Well, what's her name? Where's she from? Well, she's from Michigan, and da, 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 I met her here. She was like this. So now she's talking about you.
Right.
All of her posture that she's showing, it's like, oh, and then the book. What was the book about? Let me tell you.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, Susie want to buy the book too, and she want to meet you at the event too because now she's heard so much, and so now your readers become like a taxi cab.
Right.
They dropping people off at the party, and you entertaining them. You got the drinks popping. I've been on your page. You got the drinks popping over here. It's some food over here in the corner. Everybody having a party. It's a good time. And so now the readers are there. They're
Right.
there. So you can write on the back of the paper bag set. They like, ooh, did y'all get it? Yes, I did. It
Right.
was on the left hand corner.
Right.
But how does that make you feel? The impact that your pen is really given to people that some people you don't know.
I think I'm still surprised. I think I'm still surprised because I like what I like. Um, I don't always. I think I like weird stuff. Like I'm a person. I'm a person that is not big into fiction reading, believe it or not. I'm very much a nerd. I love information, and so um, I draw a lot of informational text. So in the readings that I like to do, I like to do autobiography. I'm nosy. I like to look into people's lives. And if they've written it out, then that gives me some leverage into, looking without feeling guilty about it.
Exactly.
And so that's the kind of reading that I like to do, which Gemini Rising was written sort of in a way where it would have been autobiographical had she been the one who wrote, as in first person and things like that. But I'm still a little surprised when people tell me, I really enjoyed your work. When's the next thing? And I'm like, oh, I really am. But it feels great. I've even had people tell me, they're inspired by the fact that I wrote a book, and I'm always humbled to be of an encouragement to someone in anything that they're doing, especially creativity. I don't think they were creative enough. Or just adulting sucks all of that out.
So why do you think that you are really such an impact? Is it because that people can relate to a lot of sides of Arthur MarZe? Like they can relate to so many. Like you say things that they may not say, but it's stuff that they're thinking about.
Do you know that's crazy?
It might sound crazy, but it's true. Like you
Or,
say things, they thinking about it, but they, for whatever
right.
reason, they're not saying it. But when you say it, they're like, I was thinking the same thing.
And you know, for every one thing I say, there's like 3 or 4 things I don't say, which is, you know, probably a good thing because I kind of say what's on my mind. But I think people um are relieved that that they're not the only ones thinking about a thing, and I'm just silly enough to say whatever's on my mind in that particular moment. I think that people find me relatable. They're encouraged because once I tell them, you know, I'm not just a pretty face. I'm actually kind of smart. I was once married for a very long time, and got 5 kids, and I still managed to dream. At the point that I was allowed to dream, a lot of things took off from me. And I think that because, you know, you go to work every day, because you're a mom, because, you know, you have responsibilities, we forget that it's okay that, you know, when we were 5 and we had the, you know, hairbrush in our hand and we wanted to be a singer, you know, we forget that person.
Right.
But that person still wants to do that
It's
thing.
still within us.
Yes, it's still within us. And so I was one, I had the hairbrush in my hand. I wanted to act. I wrote scripts for my Barbie dolls. I, you know, I wrote stories from the time I was in like 3rd grade. And so for me, there was a whole lot of stuff trying to get out. And, at, you know, I sang in the choir. That's how, you know, I fulfilled that whole singing part of me. Acting, church plays. The writing was something that came a little later. But I think that a lot of people kind of look at me and they say, well, she can do it. You know, I don't have superpowers. I mean, sometimes I will say that I do. But, but you know, I'm every woman who is busy and needs to find herself, and you know, and I have no problem talking about it. You know, I feel like if I can do it, anyone else can do it.
Right.
Absolutely. And it's true because as a mom, you will lose yourself in the lives of other people. You will lose yourself in the lives of your children. You will lose yourself in the lives of your spouse. You just lose yourself. And what happens is when we become empty nesters, we have to find ourselves. Or if we become single, we have to find ourselves. And I think for so long, society has told women that you are selfish if you choose you over somebody else, if you choose you over your kids, if you choose you over your husband. You know, if you are fixing the kids' plates and fixing your husband's plate, I feel your husband's supposed to get up and make your plate.
Right.
But most of the time that doesn't happen. So women are looking out for everybody, and people don't really think to look out for the mom until mom down for the count. Like, oh, wait a minute, something wrong. We need to do this. We need to help her clean up when it should just be voluntary.
Let me tell you something that I have not told everybody, and maybe everybody is listening now. Okay, so when I decided to find myself was after the birth of my 5th child that I nearly died from. I nearly died having the 5th child, and it was just a very strange experience. And during my healing and all my crying, and you know, because situation in the family wasn't altogether great, I'll just say. Um, I said, I can't believe I had 4 children before this one, and this one was going to take me out of here, and I had not lived one day doing one thing other than being a mother that I wanted to do. And so I healed. It took me 8 months to heal after having baby number 5.
Wow.
And I had to decide some different things as far as what I wanted to do. I hadn't gone to college. So after he got some size, went to college, graduated, you know, did a 4-year degree in 3.5 years. While I was in college, I took a creative writing class. And so that kind of sparked some of the creative, you know, literary stuff that I'm doing now. And you're right. It's not until mom is down for the count or the wife is down for the count, you know, that you're trying to figure out what should we do for her? Is she really being selfish if she decides to just go to the backyard and, write a song or sing to herself? And so it was at that point that I had to figure out my life for myself because no one else could see outside of my role in their life.
That's right.
You know,
And that's the thing. If people all make choices, but they're all responsible for the choices that they make. So if you choose to go to the left, mom is trying to protect forever. We trying to protect, make sure everything is straight. Everybody around us is straight. Now, if you choose to come in and dinner has been done, I'm not going to the kitchen to make you nothing to eat. You better get it how you get it. But that's looked at, but wait a minute, I'm hungry. Who gonna feed me? I don't know who's gonna feed you. But
my kids get so happy because I'll get in here. Tabitha Brown is the best thing that ever happened to me because
I love Miss Tab.
Look, the grilled tomato sandwich is a hit around here, and it doesn't take anything to fix. And so whenever my kids are hungry, girl, listen, where's the butter and the bread and the tomatoes and the cheese, and we gonna get down like it's steak and potatoes. And so they love it when I decide that I'm going to cook because that doesn't happen very often. And I love to cook, but they love it when I cook for them because they don't look. It's survival of the fittest around here.
But MarZe, I want to go back to something that you and Lissha both said. But sometimes when you find yourself not taking care of everybody but yourself, but when you find yourself, I think it makes a better person of you as you're taking care of other people, because now you have something that's yours, that's based, just yours, and it would make me feel that okay, I can handle this or I can handle that because I'm also handling things for me.
Absolutely.
Do you ever feel that way?
I'm probably one of the most selfish mothers that you will ever meet.
Wait a minute. And she said that like, listen. Sorry, y'all.
She like, listen.
I'm not doing that. Oh, you did that? Oh, you did? Mm-mm. No,
seriously. Like, I mean, because I raised my kids to be individuals, and I look at them like, and what's so awesome about my kids is that they actually give me room to be that better person. They see the work that I put in, and so there's this, Mom, I need you to do, and I'm like, when they come, I know it's something they actually need me for.
Right.
So
absolutely.
And so I can be in my room writing. I can travel for the book events, and I'm a much happier person.
Right.
Much better person.
Living your vision.
Right. And I probably have to easily 10 years ago I couldn't say the same thing. I would say that.
And that's what I was getting ready to say. How do they when you are in your writing mode or you're in edit, everybody knows editing time, everybody crazy. Like, listen, don't call my name, don't ask me no questions. How do they encourage you? How do they keep you focused during that time? It's like, did you eat? Let me go in here and make you a little sandwich. You need you some water. What can we do to help you?
Let me tell you, the Royals. I call them the Royals, and they deserve look. I have twins who are 25, Duchess 1 and Duchess 2. The princess is the baby girl, the eldest and the youngest prince, and the boys, they're just kind of like boys. But even the youngest prince doesn't, he's like, oh, you're writing, okay, so I'll go ahead and leave you alone. But the eldest, the duchesses, and the princess, okay, Mom, I see you. What you need? Do you need some water? You need me to rub your back? I'm like, I am a little tense. Yeah,
right there.
Come rub my feet real quick because it's gonna get me motivated to do a little more.
But
my kids are so cool. They are so cool. It's
because they become you. They become you. Like, you are writing, you are studying. I see you. A lot of times there's a difference between being loved and being used. And a lot of times people want to confuse using somebody for love. And most of the time you use your mama. You
Okay.
love her, but you're using her in the process. So the best part of them loving on you is saying, you did all of these things for us. I see
Right.
you. I see what you're doing. I don't know where you're going, but I'm for it. And whatever it is that you need, I'm here. So Ma, you need some water? I'm about to get you some water. Ma,
Right.
you was just writing 5 minutes ago. Now what you doing?
Right.
Reminding you, get back on it.
Right, and they do, and then they do not hesitate to tell me how proud they are of me, and I think that's really
Oh,
Yes.
crazy. Like it's when people sit here and say my kids is making me, I'm like my blessings,
yeah,
blessings,
yeah.
blessings.
She's
It's
like,
like
no, I don't have them issues.
I
I
don't
don't
have
have
an
them
issue. I be sitting here looking confused. I'm like,
It's a blessing, though. It really
well,
is.
let me pray for you because I don't know what to tell you otherwise. And
Right.
I really sometimes I look and I don't even know what I did to get the kids that I have
Mm-hmm.
because they give me no problems at
Mm-hmm.
all. And like I said, they would tell me often, I have a couple that live outside of the home because they're old enough to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And they will come by just to tell me that they love me. They don't
Oh,
call. They will call when they can't come by. But come by just, Mommy, I needed to see your face. I'm like, oh, y'all are the best.
that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we got our next fabulous guest. Bridget McGill is in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, Bridget.
How are you?
We
Very
are good. We are good. Now we want you to tell everybody about your literary journey and a little bit about your work.
All right, all right. So this is my third book. I wrote a inspirational book in 2017, which I won a first place award for.
Woo!
And earlier this year, I published the journal to that book. So I was pretty excited about that. And it is it's not your write down what you're thinking, write down what you're feeling journal. Babe, hold on one second. Babe, could you go get a journal for me at my window right there? I'm sorry, I just asked him to go get it for me. Um, so it's a I was pretty excited about it because the reviews have really been great. People have been telling me that the journal has been helping them to solve problems and helping them to work through different things because it's questions, it's prayers, it's prompts, there's challenges there. So it's not just let me just write some things down. And then my newest part of my journey is my first novel,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called Redemption. I'm pretty excited about that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just backtrack. So this is the journal.
How does your garden grow?
Nice.
I like the cover.
Thank you. And it has So I wrote it so that it could stand alone without the book. And I
Mm-hmm.
made sure at the beginning of every chapter to include a quote from the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, if you haven't read the book, then you can follow along, and it's a pretty good standalone.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
It has quotes, and each of the quotes matches what's happening in that chapter.
Absolutely.
So I was
Nice.
really, really excited about this because I've been journaling since I was a kid, but sometimes journaling is boring. So I added the prompts, the challenges, the prayers, and some different activities to help it be a little bit more interactive.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
thank you. My first novel, called Redemption, it is book one of a three-part series, and the series is Sins of the Windy City. Woo! So it's based in Chicago, and it is the first book is a legal drama, the second book is family drama, and the third book is a family drama on another level where the mob gets involved in all these kinds of things. And in my first book, my character is the two main characters are Khalil and Ava. And Khalil is a lawyer, and he is attempting to get her out of jail on time served.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Now, we talked to MarZe about her goal moment. She talked about her journey into books. Well, a goal moment is when thought and execution come together. A lot of times we're very mindful about how we speak to other people, how we treat other people, how we pour into other people, and we tend to forget ourselves. What was your goal moment when you decided to sit down and write this book and the workbook that goes along with it? What was that moment like for you?
Well, I think that moment has probably been with me my entire life. As a little girl, I used to write a book every day, 5 pages, 6 pages, and I would get the hole puncher. I would take the construction paper, fold it, make the holes, and get a yarn piece of yarn, tie it together. And I would say, "Okay, Mom, I wrote a book," and she would take it and put it in the pile with the other children. So I think that I have always been on a journey of writing. I was in a writer for the school paper in elementary school and high school, and I wrote for our blog in college. And the book that I published in 2017, as I thought about a garden, I thought about how much, how similar my life garden is to a physical garden. So when you think of things that you need to make a garden grow, what are the things you think of?
Hmm. Flowers, soil, you know,
Sun, water,
nutrients.
fertilizer.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started thinking, man, that's the same thing as our life garden.
That's
Our
right.
Mm-hmm.
fertilizer is our own shoot that we need to. I knew you girls was going to catch that. Um, and then we have, we cry a lot of tears as women. That's our rain, happy
Mm-hmm.
tears, sad tears,
Right.
tears of joy. We have our sun, those moments that make us go, aha,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Right.
And as I just kept moving through, I thought about the different gardens. So I have a garden of plastic and stone. That's the woman that is just still wearing a mask. She's
Mm.
perfect. Nothing is out of place. She will never let you show any emotion until that one day when that vase cracks.
Wow.
Right.
You have the soul soil. Your soul soil, all of our soul soils are different. Mine may be soft right now, but at a different time it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that soil is ready to have seeds planted, and sometimes it's just like, could you step back, please?
Mm-hmm.
We have the woman in the garden of selfishness.
Mm.
Selfishness happens for different reasons. We have a lot of brothers and sisters, or we have none. We have grown up with our grandmother who only wants to supply us with food, clothes, and shelter. And then, we want to get jiggy. We want to look pretty. We want to do all these other things. And grandma's like, mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
Clothes clean. Clothes clean. Did you eat? You food good? Okay.
You
So
should.
I talk about 10 different gardens, and each of us, I'm sure, have been in all of these gardens at different times of our lives.
Wow, that's a great analogy, and I never really thought of it. And you obviously put a lot of thought into it. But I want to go back to something you said about journaling because it sounds like you've always been a journal. You've
I,
always journaled. But then you say it's boring. Why do you feel it is boring when you pour so much of yourself into it?
I think it got boring because at different parts of my life, I stopped. You know how sometimes you'll have a slowdown where you're not growing and the flowers in your garden are just stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a point of stagnation, then you're just writing down, I went to work today, my principal made me mad, all the kids were bad, and good night.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe with a challenge of, well, what do you want to do different tomorrow?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That started to make the difference for me. And I came up with this journal because I started doing that in my journal. Well, what would make this different? What would be a challenge you would give yourself? If
Mm-hmm.
you have to do the same thing tomorrow, how would you make that one situation different? I
Right.
thought, oh, well, this would be cool in a real journal.
That's right.
It
So,
would. Mm-hmm.
yeah, birth the journal.
Because I think a lot of times we go through until it comes a time when we have to reset. And the reset period is when you whatever you had going on at that time, it's time for that entity to die. Whatever it
Yes,
is, for that you can grow and be that next person. And
yes,
so we go, and then we reset. Then it's like, oh well, I need to do something different. But sometimes we gotta calibrate. And normally calibration is with technology or meteorology, but it's really the comparison and measuring values delivered by a device under the test with those of a calibration standard of known accuracy. So you can still apply that to life. A lot of times we don't calibrate. We don't get ourselves balanced and in tune. We stay off balance. We keep off balance people around us. And
mhm,
especially in business, and I think I posted this earlier. If you are indecisive about your vision, if you're indecisive about your goals for yourself and where you want to go and what you want to do, you are creating an imbalance
Mhm.
for energy around you and an imbalance in your business because
yeah,
now it's all over the place. If you find yourself in the same situation here, here, and here, and here, and it's the same thing, just different people, the common denominator is you, and you have to start doing things differently. And a lot of
absolutely.
times we don't think about that. We just say, I want to do this and I'm going to do this. We all over the place. And there's no balance to your vision. You're not accepting your contribution to the either the failure or the lack or the movement, whatever it is. But at some point in time, you had to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we're like helicopters. A helicopter just hovers sometimes. And what
Right.
happens when a helicopter hover? It's just kicking up dirt. It's doing nothing but making a big old mess that don't nobody want to clean up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think, and it's funny because MarZe said I had to learn me. I had to be me. I had to do me. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to. And when people love on you, when they truly love you, because there's a gift, again, it's the difference between being loved and being used. When they
Yeah.
truly love you, they will celebrate you in
Mm-hmm.
any capacity.
Right.
Now, each of you guys, I want you just to talk to us about your visions and where, because a woman that can write is a powerful woman. We already powerful regardless because I believe we're the backbone of everything. We
Right.
are the backbone. Some people say we the neck. We the backbone and the neck if you want to say that. We the whole spine. We hold things together.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but as a woman, that makes you powerful. And a woman that can write is even more powerful because she could be deadly at that point. What are some jewels that you would drop on other women that are thinking about taking their life to a different level, that are thinking about doing something different, that are maybe in a position that you were in before you decided to switch over? What are some of the things that you would encourage them to do to push forward into their new level, create their better garden? We'll start with Bridget.
I think Marze hit it on the head when she said you have to learn about you.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes being still, it takes being quiet. Last year, I became a certified yoga instructor. So
Mm.
I practice a lot of meditation, moving meditation, speaking meditations, and these meditations help to center me. A lot of times when I'm stretching or I'm in a pose, emotion may be released. And I have to ask myself, wow, why did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
But when we just understand ourselves and that turning off the noise is not just like this car going past making all this noise. Sometimes the noise is in our head.
Right.
That's right.
And one of my favorite scriptures is, "Be still and know that I am God." Because when we are still, we can hear the Holy Spirit speak to us, and we can just be still. We
Mm-hmm.
have to write down questions. Why did I respond to that way?
Mm-hmm.
Why did that make me sad? Why did that make me happy? Because a lot of times we're dealing with trauma and drama from childhood that was unresolved.
Mm-hmm.
The little girl in us is still in need of something that she still has not, the need has not been met yet. And sometimes we have to go back and ask the little girl, hey, did you ever get that? Did you ever get that hug? Did you ever get that love? And we have to ask ourselves a lot of questions and not be afraid of the answers.
That's
Because
right.
the answers is ugly sometimes.
Mm-hmm. That was pretty powerful, Miss Bridget.
That
Thank you for
was.
sharing
She
that.
was talking that talk, wasn't she, T?
Yes, she was.
And MarZe.
I felt it.
Well, piggybacking off of what Bridget was talking about, you have to also learn your voice. People will sit here and say all the time, your own voice. They'll say, "I can't do this. I don't know how to do that." And I said, "Who lied to you?
Yeah.
Someone lied to you, and that voice is living in your head. Please, please, please turn that voice off. There's your own voice. Your own voice understands your ability. Your own voice will encourage you to do a thing. Baby steps in baby steps are still forward progression. That's
Yes,
one
That's
thing
right.
we all need to understand. We do not have to leap from one spot to another if we're taking steps forward
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
in trepidation, or if look, we're like, okay, I don't know which way to go. Okay, it's okay to stand still for a hot second,
yes,
Right.
That's right.
or a hot 5 minutes.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, we don't want to move in fear. Well, should I say, I don't want to say we don't want to move in fear, because sometimes that happens. We're afraid of what's going to be the right decision. But a
Right.
baby step is still a step in the direction of your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
yes,
That's
Know
right.
your voice. Know the voices and the affirmations you need to tell yourself, and the voices. Oftentimes, like Brenda said, they come from trauma in your childhood, or
Mm-hmm.
the one person that you loved the most, and for some reason, they broke that person. You need to remember who that voice is in your head. That's the survivor. That's the person that's triumphant. That's the person that's going to make sure that their dreams happen. Despite what everybody else has said, you have to put those voices to the side and understand that even baby steps are still forward progression.
Absolutely.
Go in the directions of your dreams.
absolutely.
And have a vision for yourself. This is
Yeah.
the thing. A person will use you and sell you their vision because they know you don't have a vision for yourself. They
Yes,
know you don't have goals for yourself. So if you don't have goals for yourself, any and everywhere they wanted you to go, you're gonna go because you again you give yourself for somebody else's goals.
Well, somebody else will make it sound good.
Yeah,
Somebody else
they
will
done
make your
sold it.
dream
They
sound
done
good
sold
to
it.
you.
That's
It's the
right.
And
voice.
then you realize like this ain't even what I want to do. It's other stuff I want to do. It's things I
Right.
want to do for myself. So sometimes, like Miss Bridget was saying, because we talk about this on Let's Chat a lot, asking yourself why. We don't ask ourselves why. Understand the intent behind the things that you're doing. Now,
yes,
if you're doing something just to be helpful, that's cool. But know that in helping people, you get burned. If you're doing something out of love, that's good. But just know that people take advantage of your love.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing something, know your intent. Now, if you acting a hog fool and you busting out car windows, you need to ask yourself, why am I busting out these windows?
She preaching,
And a
y'all.
lot of that is ego. A lot of that is ego. And that's ego
yes,
of all of us. If your man cheat on you, it's ego. You know,
Mhm.
if your woman cheating on you, that's ego. That's your ego is the first thing that pop out. It's not even being able to pay attention to the situation and say, well, I kind of really don't care. You know,
Well, I mean,
because
it's also too, in that moment, you feel like you're not good enough. Again, someone else is putting in your head, you're not good enough because they made a decision to do a thing.
that's
Yeah.
right. And
Mm-hmm.
it ain't got nothing to do with you. But if a person doesn't have a vision for themselves, and
Exactly.
they don't have drive for themselves, and they don't have that push, because those things come, that encouragement comes from you.
Right.
Yes.
Anybody can push you all day long. You can push and encourage, but if that person don't have that fire on the inside of them, it don't really matter. If
That's
they
Mhm.
are broken, trying to act fixed, like Miss Bridget was talking about, until that vase break and get
yeah.
a crack in it,
Yes.
then you realize how really broken you are. But when you trying to fake the funk, like I got this vision and I'm this and I'm that and I'm this, but when you really think about it, if somebody doesn't push you, do you do it? If somebody doesn't encourage you, do you see it? You see
Mhm.
what I'm saying? You have to
Yeah.
have a vision for yourself, and when you have a vision, you need to make sure everybody around you got a vision, and they need to be clear in understanding what their vision is. Because if they're
Yes.
indecisive, they're gonna throw you off balance. Ain't nobody got time for that. I need you
Yes.
to figure out what you want to do, and when you figure that out, let me know. But until then, I can't be all over the world with you because you
Mhm.
Yes.
don't even know where you want to go.
Yes. I
That's
have
true.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Oh,
Tony.
go ahead, Bridget. Say
I
that.
just I was gonna say I have coined this phrase and it's in my book, and it says when a person hasn't taken the time to straighten out something in their life, they won't care about messing it up in yours.
Mm.
So you have to be really mindful of being around people that have no vision, because your vision will easily get squelched by
Mm-hmm.
a person that doesn't have vision, because if they don't have any vision for themselves, they can't encourage you. They can't even pray for you. They can't, push you forward or make a suggestion or an offering. So we have to be very mindful of people that don't have a vision, because that'll hurt us.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. And
And the
speaking
word
of people
no.
with vision,
Go ahead, T.
I'm sorry, these, but speaking of people with vision, with us just coming, some of us are coming off of the COVID-19, where we've had all this time to
Yeah.
even internalize what it is that we want, and even
Mm-hmm.
realize that we may have a vision, and you want to come out of this better than you went into it in
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
March. So have you ladies actually worked on your vision or even realized a new vision during this quarantine COVID-19 time? Let's
Mhm.
start with MarZe.
Yes, actually. So I've got a few more stories to develop. One, I'm trying to decide how I'm going to write it. It's about my grandmother, being her caretaker. I say the Pink Lady Chronicles because she was definitely a very integral part of my life for the last 3 years, and trying to get through that was quite emotional.
Yeah.
Um, but also, what I'm planning to do, hopefully by my birthday, is the plan. Um, Doing a podcast. And my best friend and I, we're talking about doing a podcast, and we're so random that we're actually trying to have, we're having these meetings as best friends so that we can kind of pinpoint what we want to talk about, if we want to have theme or things like that.
Uh,
Um, yeah, so podcast, YouTube channel, all of that kind of stuff. And it's just,
Mhm.
more the layers to the author branding, author life, who it is that's Marze, and
Right.
as far as expanding the vision that way. And then there's also, an Alfa Romeo in my future. That I'm definitely seeing myself driving, before 2022.
I know that's right.
So that, those kind of visions, traveling and getting that Alfa Romeo, and
Mhm.
that's what I'm looking to
But
do.
you
I'm
have
not,
a plan, you have
yeah,
something that you are working towards. And
yes,
what about
indeed.
you, Miss Bridget?
Well, this book, Redemption, has spiraled into a three-book series.
Wow.
And it's amazing how once you just say it's going to be three books, then the books just start talking to you. Right, Marjay?
Oh
They,
yes, they do.
they just start saying, okay, in book three, this is going to happen. In book two, you need to tell this from book one. So that part is really amazing. I always thought about, I know I'm going to write a book, but write a series. It was like, oh, okay, I could do that.
Hmm.
But I really, really love journals. So there are two journals that I want to create. Earlier this year, I just had a point, like Marjay said, of just reset. And I just was kind of all over the place and just doing this and doing that. And hanging out here, hanging out there. And I was taking a bath one night and I just heard the Holy Spirit say, "You need to gather yourself."
Mm.
So for 88 days, I didn't go on any dates. I kept my minimum with men to my interaction with them very minimal, and I just had to just sit and just be still. So an idea I have for a journal is let me gather my pieces.
Mm.
And
Ooh.
then
Nice.
another journal I want to create is a yoga journal, a 31-day devotional for yoga where you have poses or you have the variation of those poses so you don't feel like, well, oh, I can't do that. But
Right.
um, each pose will have a meditation attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
So those are three things. And I have a children's book that I've been working on.
Oh.
My
Mhm.
granddaughter, Zora, I really just made the decision that I didn't want her to grow up with the white Jesus that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
I want her
Uh-oh.
to
That's a
grow up.
whole nother conversation. You better talk about it.
I want her to grow up with the Jesus of the Bible. The Jesus that looks like her, that looks like me, with the woolly hair and the
Uh-huh.
bronze skin.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the book. If nobody reads it, that's fine. It's for her
Right.
Mm-hmm.
because I really want her to understand how the Bible has been manipulated over the years against us as a people, but it is still the infallible word of God, and how we have to learn to um, dispel the myths
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
and understand the lies.
You
Because
better see it.
it was the Pope during that time that said Mary Magdalene was a hoe, and then
Uh-huh.
in what 1940, 1950 was like, well,
Uh-huh.
no, that wasn't really the case. She wasn't, but they were. That is a great example of being intimidated by a woman's power,
Mm. Okay.
not liking the type of power that she has, not
Okay.
liking the energy that she carries. So I have to break that energy down
Mm-hmm.
because she shines brighter than me, and I
Mm.
can't have that. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it happens like that, but it's just a constant thing. Even
Yeah.
throughout time, it was back in the Bible where just being afraid of her power because we're very powerful. We
Yeah.
we are powerful in so many ways. We have taken down countries. We have built up countries. We have produced kings. That's just how powerful we are. And when we step into that, you can't nobody mess with you. We got our next fabulous guest, Pat Simmons. Hey, how are
Hey,
you?
Thank you for letting me join in on the fun.
thanks for joining us.
Yes. Now, Pat, we want you to tell everybody a little bit about your literary journey and your work.
Well, someone asked me recently how many books I've written. I've always been stuck on over 30. So I
Can't
had to actually, and I've
you
written
can't hear her.
novels, 18 novellas, and 8 short stories. I am just thankful that God started the journey, and here I am. My next book comes out on the 1st, so I'm getting really excited about
Absolutely. Now,
Pat,
Miss Pat, do you have a headset that you can put
yeah.
in so that we can hear you better?
Yeah. That's
I am on my phone because I jumped out of a virtual book bingo. Um,
Ooh, a book
and
bingo?
it's a book bingo, and we've been playing it. It's virtual. So I was the moderator and I couldn't win. So I'm sorry my voice is muffled, but
Wait, wait, you wish you tried to moderate and
I'm doing okay
win
though.
at the same time? Like,
yeah,
I'm doing
listen,
okay. Yeah.
now you
Doing
know
okay.
that's what we do, right? You know, 2 for 1. That's what we do. 2 for 1.
she said I'm about to moderate this thing, but I'm playing me some bingo. So, break down book bingo for us. How does book bingo work? Y'all taking notes? Y'all authors out there, y'all taking notes because she about to give y'all a jewel.
We need to hear her though. We can't hear her.
Okay, let me see if I can join you on my computer. I think that might work better.
Okay, just click the same link and it'll bring you back in.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna try to do. So you guys give me a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
She about to school us on that book
She is
bingo.
about to listen. A lot of times, when we come together, we had a great show last night where we talked about with JD Mason what how the industry used to run and how it used to flourish because everybody had a part to play, but they
Mhm.
all worked together. You had
Mhm.
publishers that was calling the book club presidents. You don't have that type of interaction anymore. And I
Mhm.
think that when authors have interviews, when you meet them at book events, that's why I tell clients book events are great, but if you're not making no money, it's more than one purpose for that event. Use that event to network. Use that event to pay attention and kind of learn how to move around in the industry. Now
Mhm.
she about to tell y'all about book bingo. Y'all should be taking notes so that all y'all authors that got groups, y'all can do a book bingo. You got an event, you got book bingo. You want to create an event for yourself. You got book bingo. Hey, we got Vision and Books 2022, y'all. We're gonna be playing big book bingo as soon as she come back and explain how it works. I'll be like, we about to play book bingo, y'all, because it's important that we share these things. We can, whatever you hear and people share with you, you may not necessarily be able to use everything, but you take what you can use and you apply
And make
that
it
and say,
yours.
okay, well, how can I do this? This was awesome. This was great.
Mhm.
I need to make this experience for the people that I have around me.
Mhm.
Now I wanna ask you guys because we learn a lot along the way. But what have you learned about yourself throughout your journey? We'll start with MarZe.
What have I learned about myself? That I am a lot more resilient than some people. Uh, I used to have meltdowns, even as an adult, when, because I was a perfectionist and I had to figure out what that was about. But I've learned that I'm a lot more resilient. I've learned that um, given the right parameters, I can get a novel written in about 10 days. Um,
Mhm. Wow.
um, I it's a lot of I every day is learning for me. Every day is learning something new about myself. So that in particular was that I'm far more resilient, and given the right motivation, I can get a whole book done in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Miss Bridget.
I would like to pinpoint one thing in particular. I've never been a girl that likes to be outside. I didn't do grass, trees. I don't want to eat outside. I will serve everybody outside and then I'll come in the house. Earlier this year, I think I was either reading my Bible or praying or something, and I just realized that God had been communicating with mankind through nature hundreds of years before the written word.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started feeling that made me feel like I was missing out on something. Like, well, how come I don't understand the trees and the moon and all this kind of stuff? Because I hated being outside.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent some time with one of my mentors, and somehow we came up about when I was little. I was in the backyard with my grandfather one time, and I rubbed against a beehive that was on the gate,
Mm.
and the beehive just attacked us. So my grandfather had to pick me up, throw me in the house. They had to put our dog to sleep because there was too many stings in him. And
Ooh.
what that taught me was, the childhood trauma of being stung by the bees is why I hated outside. And
Oh,
I never connected it until right then. She asked me, she said, well, do you think that because bees terrify me? Absolutely. But it was bigger than that. So I just really learned that that's the reason I never wanted to be outside because of that childhood trauma. So now I'm learning. Just last Saturday, I led a yoga class outside by the lagoon,
oh
and
wow.
it was just like, whoa. Uh,
But I mean, it's important that we do things differently. Those things that make us afraid. I will say that COVID is one of the things. Even with all its death that it's had, it's made people fearless. Things
yeah,
that they thought they wouldn't do or they thought about doing and they bypassed doing because we will talk ourselves out of stuff in a minute. We will give ourselves excuses in a minute. It's causing people to be more powerful and saying, I want to do this and I need to do this and I need to figure out, like MarZe was saying earlier in the show, I was doing all of these things and just when I was thought I was going to be taken out of here, I realized I ain't did one thing for me. Everything was for somebody else. Now, Miss Pat, we got you back. We want you to tell everybody just a little bit about your literary journey and your books. And then you're going to tell us about book bingo. I done already told them. Everybody got pencils and pens. We ready. We taking notes.
Okay. Well, a lot of authors are using book bingo right now, virtual book bingo with their events. So, and I'm doing one. I was moderating, but then I got recruited to do my own book bingo with them next Saturday. So, book bingo is real popular in the virtual world. Um, but I've been published since 2007. I didn't know if you heard me before. I have 20 novels, 18
Ooh.
novellas, and 6 short stories. So I thank God for that because
yeah,
when my first book came out, I had no idea where the journey would take me. And I always want to encourage people because the day that my book hit Barnes and Noble shelf, I got a rejection letter from a publisher the exact same day. And so it all just let me see that it it has to connect with the right editor. So the right editor picked up my book. If it wasn't for that editor, I probably would not have gone as far as I have gone in my journey. So this is my book that's coming out September 1st. And I write Christian fiction, Christian romance, women's fiction. So I'm real excited. If you know anyone that's a breast cancer survivor, they will definitely enjoy this book. Most definitely. It's all about the victory and overcoming. And so that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Absolutely. Now, what was your go moment? A go moment is when thought and execution comes together. We're mindful about how we treat other people, how we talk to other people, but like we were saying, we don't do much for ourselves. We can tend to want to present lack to ourselves. So when you decided to step out and write, what was that process? What was going on in Pat's world that she said, I'm about to do this?
Well, actually, it was where a very good friend of mine. And she kept telling me, what did God say? And when God tells you something, what you can, there is no argument. And so when I was getting discouraged, when I got all these rejection letters and nobody's posting a review, and she would always say, and I can hear her voice in my ear, but what did God say? And so in that particular situation, you can't argue with God. But I think what was really fascinating for me is I'm heavy into genealogy. I'm
Yeah, me too.
I'm I will be at a book signing and you will tell me something. I will step aside from the table and then we start comparing notes. I love genealogy. And so, as a tribute to my ancestors, what I do is I give one of my characters their name. into
Okay.
it.
Mm,
And at the
interesting.
back of each one of my books in the Jameson series, which is this series back here, I give an explanation. I talk about the family tree. I just like to put that in the back of my books. But when I first started, and as authors know, names mean everything. You just
Yeah.
can't name somebody Mary and people gonna remember. Mary who? Or name, or here we go. Or name her Karen. Karen, you know what I'm saying? You have to have that distinguished name. And I thought about Brenda Jackson's Medeiros family. As soon as you said Medeiros, people knew you were talking about Brenda Jackson's book. So I decided on the name Jameson. I thought that that was a distinguished name, and if my books went past one, people will remember Jameson. So
That's
I named my characters mother Charlotte after my grandmother and great grandmother, and gave her the name Jameson. But in the midst of writing the story, I was still doing my genealogy. And I have a picture on my website. If you go to my website, you can actually look at my family tree. But the
Mm,
aha moment for me was I could not find my great grandmother, my great great grandmother and grandfather in the 1870 census. Of course, they lived because I'm still here. And so I asked some genealogy friends, I said, can you help me find Charlotte Wilkerson and her two sons? They came back to me, and here's my aha moment. They said, well, the reason why you couldn't find Charlotte Wilkerson was because she was in the slaveholder's house, Robert Jameson. And so it was like, okay, God, I'm on the right track. So here I picked Jameson out of the book, not knowing the connection to my family. So Charlotte Jameson, a fictional character, was actually my second great grandmother who lived to be 90 and died in the backyard of one of the largest slaveholders in Mississippi. So yeah, yeah.
it.
So
It's so
that's the
funny.
whole show.
But it's funny that you said that because I love genealogy too. I can get lost in hours on ancestry.com, but you also learn patterns. You learn from your ancestors. Are they all teachers? Why they were teachers? Are there a lot of preachers? Why there were a lot of preachers? I learned that Monday Durant, who was a pastor, but he was my ancestor, and I learned about him. You kind of learn about your family from how they were, how they did things. If they moved around, why they moved, if they moved around a lot, just and then learning that the men, listen, they were some Rolling Stones, but the women, listen, you got 13 kids, you started getting pregnant early, you got pregnant by the right ones, and then you got married somebody else and you had 13 more. I'm like, come on. That's too many kids. But that was what women were. And they learned how to use that to their advantage. They learned how to use that for their own forward movement. And learning how they did community and learning how they treated each other and how they took care of each other. If you kind of look on the rolls, you'll see 5 and 6 people like in the same little block. That means they all were in the same house. And being able to learn, how multiple families stayed together, how they lived together. They might have been sharecroppers, some owned property, some were freemen. You had some that were married to Indians and some whose wives purchased their freedom. But we don't learn the strengths to be able to appreciate our ancestors. So I'm glad that you brought that up and was able to say, I put that in my book to encourage people to know
Right,
where you come from.
right.
No,
And I've had a lot of people to contact me that wanted to do their research. And when my grandmother passed, I actually put the family tree in the actual obituary.
oh, that
And
was dope.
my relatives that couldn't come, I mailed them a copy so that everyone would have that family tree. One person should not hold the key. And then when that person's gone, they're gone. And
Yeah.
so that's why it's on my website. Anyone can look at it. I put it in the obituary. Our strength comes from our ancestors. That's
That's
why
Yeah.
we,
right.
that's why we're here. So, yeah.
Mhm. Wow. And that's powerful because that, like you said, no one holds the one key. Everyone is able to unlock the key.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
And even before Ancestry came on the scene, I was the one that was digging through um, old records, going to the library. It took me forever to get on Ancestry, and you have to really be careful because whenever you go on Ancestry, make sure you look at the actual document because they have people in different countries that interpret the document. Like, for example, they'll have people in India or Europe and they'll see the birthplace IND. So they said this person was born in India when the person was actually born in Indiana. So when you're doing that, look at the actual document. Look at
Thank
the
you.
document.
Thank you for that.
Mm, that's powerful because that makes a world of a difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you have to look at this. I learned that you got to look at the time too. And I had to bring up a map. I had to know, that a portion of the United States at that time, a portion of Louisiana, a portion of Georgia, a portion of Alabama, that was still owned by the Spanish. So that how it was broken down, how everything was out. You had the Indians over here, and you had everything else over here. So they had different things where they had the Canadians here, they had the Europeans here that took shot, and then knowing what's going on in that area. Like a lot of my family was from Holly Springs, Mississippi. Well, in Holly Springs, when they came in during the war, they burned the city, and so the town hall was burned, and so a lot of the way that the information for families that was burned when they set it on fire, and seeing how they migrated out of that, the Trail of Tears. I mean, we got to look at all of that to be able to really understand our family history. I'm glad that you do that, Miss Pat, because a lot of people don't pay attention to that, and they don't take time to understand where you come from. Um, to understand even just history, to know that not just the United States treated the slaves wrong. The slaves were traded like monetary money to the Indians. We were traded like a dollar. And the Indians, when the treaty fell through with the United States, they started doing us wrong. So we were done wrong across the board, and just understanding that, knowing that everybody played a part in doing something. I'm off my soapbox. Y'all know how I get sometimes.
But Miss Pat, what's the lure of genealogy for you? What draws you to that?
Well, I think I have been fortunate to have longevity in my family. And
Really?
I lived 46 years with knowing my great grandmother. And I used to work in radio and television, and one of the anchors there had did his family tree called Honey Island. And so he was a big kid. Yo, you need to do your genealogy. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But when my great grandmother died, nobody knew how old she was. My dad's like, oh, you're 100. I mean, nobody knew how old she was, just old. And so I said, well, I'm going to find out. And she was 97. But when I found her as a child, I'm like, oh my God, she was a kid. I mean, of course she was a kid. But you put in your head, this woman had white hair all your life.
Right.
And I mean, and then I found out because my grandmother, which is her daughter, was a twin. I found out through genealogy research that we have three generations of twins. And
Mm,
from my great grandmother, I was able to track down her grandmother. So you just keep going and going. I've found slaveholders.
Oh
It's
boy.
fascinating, but I only put that type of research in one series because it's so time consuming. To put that history, and I don't do the historical, but I bring it. into a contemporary setting where my characters are 10th generation descendants of a royal African tribe. And so I've tracked their ancestors, and then they tell these stories, which are true, but I'm able to put them in the book. And I just enjoy doing it, but all my stories can't hold that type of research. It's just too time consuming.
It's so interesting to hear the three of you how you each approach your profession so differently but so passionately as well. You have Miss Bridget who loves to journal, and we have Miss Pat who loves her genealogy, and we have Miss MarZe who has found herself and is not and is
We love our freedom.
unselfishly selfish.
Freedom.
She found her freedom, but yet you each contribute to the literary world where your material touch people. You know, you never know who's reading a book of yours or who's journaling. You never know where they are when they're reading your work. How does that make you feel to know that you touch people? Like sometimes you just need a word, and sometimes you just need a book. You
Yeah.
know, to find that word. How do you ladies feel being able to touch people internally the way you do?
Well, before we answer that, I just want to show Lissha and Pat. I don't know if you can.
Tilt it down so the glare.
So this
Okay.
is
I
a,
see that. I can see it.
We could. There it is.
Okay.
so
Okay.
this is a box that my mentor made for me. Can you guys see that?
Uh-huh.
And there are 5 women on the front of this box. And the box is so beautifully made, but this is my ancestor box. And it
Wow.
is my mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother Carrie. It is my father's grandmother, Aura, and it is my father's mother. So their names are on different parts of the box.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's
that's
beautiful. That's
gorgeous.
beautiful.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And all 5 of their names are on a different part of the box. And when I get the box, I'm going to write each one of them a letter, and I'm going to put their picture in the box. And I really would like to establish this as a family heirloom so that we have this ancestor box of women. And every time someone passes, they get a letter, they get a picture, and this is our ancestor box. So I was really excited when you guys just started talking about genealogy because it made me think about my box. So thank you.
That box is gorgeous.
It
Thank
is.
you. Thank you.
Now, when you guys sit down to write your books and you have to think about your titles, where does that passion and that creativity come from to put those titles together? What makes you feel like this is something that's going to draw people in? Because we talked about this earlier before Miss Bridget and Pat came on, that as an author, people not buying your books, they're buying the experience of you. So, Marcy, we'll start with you. When you sit down and you come up with your titles, what is that process like for you when you get that one title and you like, this is going to be the one?
I never really know if it's going to be the one. I always like the title to tell the story. I think like any other author would. Like I'm doing Next Lifetime. It's a story about a woman who was coming out of a domestic violence situation. And she's living this next lifetime because she's been in this particular relationship for many years since high school. And so I don't think people consider another lifetime within the life that they live
Mm-hmm.
when everything becomes different and everything is not as familiar to the abuse or whatever was going on. And so when I think about the titles of the books that I have, I'm thinking about a lot of the time what the end result of the particular story is. for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Miss Bridget?
I want to tie it to Tony's question that she asked of how do you, what do you want a person to feel, the reader to feel? So I think what they feel in the title ties together.
Right.
A lot of what I talk about in this book is just different experience in my own personal life of overcoming being a overcoming being a codependent person when we have a need to be needed,
Mm-hmm.
and that can just completely overtake our lives.
That's right.
Um, Having women understand that your life garden is your responsibility.
That's
And
right.
there's one part where I say, when the garden is empty, it's not because people came in and took all the flowers, it's because you gave them away.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of what I want a woman to know and the title, that goes together for me. So the book is How Did Your Garden Grow? Cultivating a Life of Abundance. If we want a beautiful garden, you have to work for that. Anybody that has
That's
a
right.
garden, you know you have to pull the weeds,
That's
you
right.
have to water, fertilize. Sometimes you have to change that soil out. So I wanted women to understand that we can have a life of abundance. And even in a dry spell, which like now I need to water all my plants, um, there's still life in them though.
Right.
So I think the title and the content, as Tony asks, that goes together.
I like that. You have to tend to it.
And Miss Pat?
In regards to the title, sometime I know the title, sometime I don't. I'm thinking of one of my all-time favorites, which is this was the fourth book I wrote, but my favorite, Crown and Glory. Women are the fastest growing prison population. I didn't know that when I started
Wow.
writing the book. It was really about a woman. I just knew it was about her hair, but she served time in prison for a crime that she did do. But I decided to put the perpetrator of a crime with the victim of a crime. And what drew them together was her long hair. And so this will always be my favorite book because when I was writing the book, God ministers to me before he ministers to the reader.
That's right.
And when I was writing, I'm like, okay, God, she served time in prison. She did this crime. How do you love criminals? How do you love murderers? How do you, I mean, I'm like, God, how do you love these people? I honestly wanted to know how anybody in society would love my character knowing she served time in prison. And by
Mm,
the end of the book, God had answered. And he says that he looks beyond all that dirt and he sees the need. And and I can only speak for Pat, but if Pat is going to be a Christian, I got to look beyond all your dirt, knowing all your past, and love you for who you are.
That's right.
I got to do that. And that's the only way I can be a true follower of Christ. Not saying I may be, if I know you serve time in prison for embezzlement, that doesn't mean that we can't be friends. I mean, I'm going to hold on to my purse, but you know what I'm saying? But I'm just not going to cut you off because we all have the dirt that God knows.
yeah,
And,
That's right.
and whenever I see people, I try to use that book as a foundation to keep me from making a judgment call
Right.
on people. When I see people on the corner begging for money, Pat better not say, here's $5. You need to go do so and so. I might as well just keep it. Pat is supposed to do what Pat's supposed to do, and then the judgment falls on that person. And so this book just keeps me trying to be more like Christ. And so that's why this book is my favorite, because if you knew someone next door to you served time in prison, can you genuinely be their friend? I mean, that's a question we all have to answer. And it took almost 400 pages for God to let me see that that's what's required of me. So in that particular case, Crown and Glory was all about this lady's long braid that she wore that drew the victim of the crime to her because she wanted her hair in that long braid like that. But some titles my publishers picked that I'm like, it grows on me. Another title that I love is Couple by Christmas. Just with that title, here's this little boy and all he wants for Christmas is his mom and dad back together. Couple by Christmas. So that book was fun to write. And that title kind of speaks for itself. But in some cases, the publisher picks the title and you just have to go with it.
Really? Okay. Interesting. I like that, Couple by Christmas.
I like it. It's such a cute story.
That's awesome. Well, we want to thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight. This has been an eye opening as far as like this has been a sister night.
Yeah, and I have to give you the bingo stuff before we leave.
Yes, yes.
So you guys got 30 seconds. I can give you this bingo.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it, y'all.
We're ready.
Okay. This is a lot of us are playing this, and it's called book bingo. So if you have book covers, what you do is, and I can't like share the screen or anything like that to show you, but if you have 10 book covers, you would put it in a mix, and you could use going with another author that may have 10 book covers. And so what you do, you send your readers to this site to generate a book card. And that's bingo, BINGO, Baker, BAKER.com. BingoBaker.com. And there they can generate cards to play, and you can have a playlist where you are calling off your book covers. And so because it's electronic, they click the book cover and it forms an X. And so a lot of us have just been playing that to stay in contact with our readers. And so another author has a new book coming out. So I agreed to monitor her bingo, but I'm marking my little card too.
Absolutely. So wait a minute, Miss Pat. So you said bingomaker.com, right?
Yeah, bingo maker, BAKER. Right. That's it.
Oh, Bingo Baker. Okay, I got it. Listen, Dictionary Books 2022, y'all. We're gonna be playing book bingo.
It's so much fun. And then another virtual game is Planet Jigsaw, where you can take your book covers and make jigsaw puzzles out of them. And you can time people. Have you used that before? You can time people.
I played them before.
You played it?
Mm-hmm. It's fun.
And so, I mean, those are just some things that you can play with. It doesn't have to be a book cover, but it's just something that you can play virtually with people, and it's free. I think Bingo Baker has a free subscription, or maybe $5. I don't know, but a lot of us play it.
Keeps you and your reader engaged.
Absolutely.
You have to now. I am usually on the road twice a month, and you have to do something. And now with a new book out, I have to hit the numbers. So you have to come up with ways that you can connect with your audience.
Exactly. Awesome. That's a good way.
Well, it wasn't my idea. We learned from another author, and I'm in a group where we share things. And so when you find something out, you share. And as a matter of fact, and I don't know how much time I got, also today for authors that are promoting their book. I mean, I know it's getting late, but you can still do it. If you hashtag BLK, which is, Black Lives, well, kind of Black Lives Matter, but it's BLK Kindle Authors Day. If you hashtag that behind your books, that's going to pull up, Black authors, their books today. So, I mean,
Oh
those are the things
wow.
we find out and we share.
That was now y'all know we had told y'all before that y'all needed a paper and a pencil. I hope y'all took down them nuggets that she gave y'all for all of those times. I don't know how to market my book. I don't know how to get the people together. People don't listen. She just told you what to do. Y'all better be playing book bingo and
Yeah,
hashtagging that
yeah,
book. Well, and a lot of people, Instagram and Twitter are hashtag driven. So you should
yeah,
have a hashtag, but you want to also look at a trending hashtag. Look at how many people click that, how many people follow that. You want to look at that, and that's what you want to use because
right.
that makes your posts come up.
Yeah.
Now we playing book bingo, y'all. What we doing?
We oh now
I thought she was like, "Let's play book bingo." I was like, "Yeah, let's play." So we gonna have some fun with y'all today because we always have a little fun with our guests. T is gonna give you each a fun question. I don't know what the question is. That's not my ministry. That's not part of my grade. I don't know. I'm just here, but I'm excited because I don't know what she gonna say with T. You never know. Go ahead, T.
well, ladies, thank you so much. But I've just been so inspired by this talk of gardening and getting your hands dirty and getting into the genealogy. It's like digging around. So you each are a flower in a garden, and I want you to share with us which flower you would be and why. And let's start with Miss MarZe.
I would probably be a stargazer lily. They come in a various of colors, and they're very showy. They're very fragrant, and they are nice to complement to other flowers in the garden.
And Miss Pat.
I would probably be gladiola. I have gladiola bulbs in my front lawn. They just grow so long and they just bloom slowly. And then I clip them at an angle and bring them in my house, arrange them in my vase, not vase, my vase. Let them continue to bloom forever. So that's what flower I would be.
Nice. All right. She put some thought into that. And Miss Bridget.
Probably a lily, um, a lily or a pansy because pansies last forever, and they come in all different colors. Um, if October is still warm, those pansies are still hanging in there. So
Mm,
probably a pansy because it's so colorful. It comes in different colors, the same size, but a lot of different colors, and it's really resilient.
all right, Miss Lissha. I'm gonna put you on the spot. What would you do?
I would be a rose.
I knew you were going to say that.
But
I
what
would be
color?
a
But what
rose.
color rose?
I would be a purple rose.
Mm,
Mm.
Okay.
all right, now we got a
My color, it represents royalty, but roses make statements.
Would you like?
Anytime you see a rose, see a rose bush, that just its presence says something. And that's me. My presence says something. Just when I walk into a room, I don't even have to say anything.
all
And
right.
so that's how it is about a rose. You can see a rose, you can see one rose, you can see a bouquet of roses, you can see a rose bush, and it make you feel a way. You get excited like that. It's just so beautiful. You just feel happy. And I like people to be happy.
All right, now we have a beautiful garden right here.
That's
Okay, T.
right.
Everybody got flower but T. What's your flower, T?
Oh, you time start trying to end the show right quick.
Right. I was going to ask her too, Lissha.
Okay, I think I would be a gardenia because I love the way they smell. It's just a lingering smell.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
love
love it.
it.
Ladies, we so appreciate you coming to kick it with us today and let's chat. We thank you for sharing your space, your time, and your energy with us.
Thank you.
Again, we apologize for our lateness. It is all my fault. I do 10 things at one time, and today I was just like not I wasn't here. I was all over. So I apologize for the lateness of the ladies. So let's chat. We want each of you to shout out your social media, where everyone can get your books, and where everybody can connect with you. So if you have a website, make sure you always shout out your website because that's making sure your books have a home.
Right.
We'll start with Miss MarZe.
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram under MarZe Fab, MarZe_Fab. Twitter, MarZe Fab, MarZeScott.com. Um, I'm on TikTok, but no content yet, so we won't shout that out too much.
Okay.
Miss Pat.
Probably the easiest way to find me, just Google me. I mean, either you're going to get me or you're going to get one of the Dooley brothers or you're going to get a Pat Simmons who's a golfer. I mean, take your pick. But my website is patsimmons.net. I'm on social media, author Pat Simmons on Instagram, Pat Simmons on Twitter, author Pat Simmons on Facebook. So patsimmons.net. And you can look at my pictures of my genealogy, learn more about my books, send me an email, links to buy my books. So patsimmons.net, and that's me.
Awesome. And Miss
Miss
Bridget.
Bridget.
All right. So Facebook, I am Bridget McGill, and I am author Bridget McGill, or Bridget the author, on Instagram and what's the other one? Twitter. It is the Queen Within, the Queen _Within_, and my website is thequeenwithin.org.
I love it. I love it. Well, you guys are always welcome back to Let's Chat anytime. We appreciate you
Thank you.
guys.
Thank
We want you
you.
guys to have a fabulous weekend and keep shining.
All righty.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Great.
Awesome show, CD. Awesome show.
It was.
Thank you guys. We appreciate you guys kicking in with the ladies. So let's chat. If you would like to be a guest on Let's Chat, just send your request to the chat radio show at gmail.com. Always remember that you can watch our replays exclusively on Ebony TV, ebny.tv. There are new shows up, so we did put up new shows. See, at first I was like, oh, I'm going to put everything out at one time. And then I felt a little rushed because I was like, okay, I got to do all these shows at one time. And then so I'm like, no, you got to put them out a little bit at a time. Let people chew on them. Let people experience them. And then you give them a new experience. So y'all have a new experience. We appreciate you guys. And we will see you guys on next Wednesday.
Oh boy, a Wednesday night, guys.
Listen, TV like, listen. How many shows we got? But it's, 305 shows, 350 shows. Hold on.
Wow.
I think we've done 300 and maybe 350 shows.
Wow.
From the very first time we started Let's Chat to now. And we have really grown as a show. We've grown as hosts. We appreciate everyone that supports us, everyone that tunes in, whether you share our lives, whether you share our show on Blog Talk. Hey, if you haven't listened to our show on Blog Talk, what you waiting on? Make sure you head over to blogtalk.com. You can also catch us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, any podcast app. Listen to the ladies and let's chat. We'll see you guys on next week. Have a great weekend.
Good night.
Bye.